Hello and welcome back, everyone. I am Natalie Schlute, your manifestation coach and spirit guide channeler. Today's episode is all about the questions: are you channeling dark spirits or is it a mental disorder? I thought that this was a very important episode to cover because mental disorders are a real thing. When you have a mental disorder, it does show up on a brain scan. If you get an MRI and they do contrast, you can actually see parts of the brain that are active and inactive. And there is the possibility that if you are thinking that you're hearing spirits, it may actually be coming from your brain. There may be a physiological, an actual structural issue going on that may be causing these delusions and hallucinations around having dark spirits talking to you. And this is really important to cover because I teach channeling. I teach people how to tap into that energetic realm where they're channeling their loved ones, spirits, and angels that are of the highest vibration of love and light. And I want to be taking people down the correct path. I want to make sure that people are completely well informed and understand that there are these what's called differential diagnoses where there may be multiple things happening here, and it takes time and expertise in order to figure out which one is going on. I do get people reaching out to me, whether it's through my DMs on YouTube or sometimes my email inbox, asking about specific questions that are happening with them, whether it's dark dreams that they're having or whether it's hearing voices and things like that. And to just get that over a written message through an email or a DM, I can't answer those questions for you. You really need to get some professional help. And I want to make sure that people are moving themselves in the right direction so that they do get help. So this episode is all about knowing the difference between what's what, whether it's a mental health disorder, whether it's coming from an actual guide, what to do when you're hearing these voices, how to get help, and how to move forward, and how to make sure that if you are attempting channeling, that you're also doing it in the right way, so that you're not putting yourself in a position where you are pulling in dark spirits. And you can kind of guide yourself to figure out what's really coming through. Am I making this up, or is it so repetitive that maybe it's actually something structural that's going on in my mind? In order to make sure this high quality information gets out to the world, be sure to like this video, subscribe if you're interested in more about the metaphysical world, and hit that bell so that you get notified every time I have a new episode for you. If you don't know anything about mental health disorders, there is a range. It's kind of a spectrum between being bipolar and schizophrenic. And it's called schizoaffective disorder because there's no one clear cut, shows up the same way for everyone. Everyone's a little bit different. So first, going over bipolar disorder. This is where there's typically a mania episode. This can be anywhere from a week to several months where you almost feel hyperactive. It's like you're on coffee all the time, where things are very manic, things are very extreme. There's a lot of hyperactivity in the mind, in the emotions, in the body. And this is kind of called the manic episode, where there's a little more euphoria. You feel happier. You can sometimes also get into a little bit of the anxiety. So it may be hyperactive, but it may not always be positive. And that's kind of the mania symptoms. There may be elements of grandiosity where you think very highly of yourself, a little more of your ego is coming out, a little bit stronger. And again, these are all within normal ranges where a normal person is going to feel some of these things sometimes, but someone who is bipolar just has more extreme sensations of these experiences that are maybe less controllable. And then they will flip. Bipolar means there's two polar opposites. So they'll go from a mania episode into a depressive episode where there's a lack of motivation, a lack of self-care, maybe not wanting to move, not wanting to do things, a lot of procrastination, putting things off. And that can be, again, anywhere from a week to several months. And so you can bounce back if you have a bipolar disorder from a week back and forth, a few days to one, a few weeks to the other, or it could be episodes of multiple months being in either mania or depression and then flip to the other and go back and forth between these two mental states and these emotional states, because they are both mental and they are emotional. The brain and the body are all connected. We are all one system comprised of trillions of cells. And so understand that when the brain is not properly inputting the information that's coming from the nervous system, and vice versa. What you feel emotionally and mentally are going to correlate to some extent. And so you can flip between those two types of energies when you have that bipolar spectrum. In addition, 50% of the people that are dealing with some of these bipolar energies within their body and in their mind, 50% of them are also experiencing some level of schizoaffective disorder, meaning they're experiencing some level of hallucinations where they are seeing things or hearing things, and delusions where they are believing the things that are created in their mind, even though they are not physically there. This can also include paranoid thoughts. So, for example, you may have visions or hearings that there's a demon, there's a dark spirit around you. And so you're experiencing this hallucination. And then once you begin to believe that it's a real thing, it's a real demon after you, now it's becoming a delusion because you are believing in it. And then if it continues to be repetitive, now it becomes paranoia. Now suddenly you're paranoid that there is a demon after you, that there is someone in your space, in your home all of the time. And this is kind of in that realm of the schizophrenia. And understand that this is something that biologically is an abnormality in the brain. It can come from trauma. So if you had a lot of trauma in your childhood or any time in your life, what happens is sometimes certain parts of the brain shut off in order to self-protect. In order to protect ourselves, we will put up walls, and those walls are in the mind. And those walls will stop neurological pathways and shut down certain parts of the brain so that the brain is not functioning properly. So trauma can actually trigger some of these things at any point in your life. Some of this is genetic, so there can be some hereditary patterns as well with that. It can happen over time. Drugs and alcohol can cause some of these brain or abnormalities as well. So even something as simple as marijuana, I know it's becoming legal in a lot of places, but if you're on marijuana long enough in large enough quantities, you can have schizoaffective disorder. And that was actually something that I struggled with. This was over 20 years ago, so it's been a really long time. But about 20 years ago, when I was in just getting out of high school, I was smoking marijuana every single day, multiple times a day. And I did this for an entire year because I had so much trauma when I was younger that I didn't know how to deal with my trauma. I didn't have any coping mechanisms. I didn't have any help, and I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't handle how much emotional pain I was in. I couldn't handle the depression. I didn't know how to handle all the negative thoughts that were going on. And I was so depressed, and I started becoming suicidal that the only thing I knew to do was to cover it up with drugs and alcohol. And so I was smoking pot every day, all day. And what that ended up doing is by the end of that first year, or that was the only year that I did that, but towards the end, those last couple of months, I actually became delusional, and I had started having hallucinations, and I didn't know the difference between reality and what was going on in my mind. And that was when I stopped cold turkey. And that was when I decided I needed to work on myself. I needed to heal myself. I needed to heal my traumas. And once I stopped smoking, that was when everything stopped. And so understand that this is a real thing, and it can happen. I have other friends and some clients that are going through something similar, where they're on different kind of drugs, whether they're prescribed drugs as well. So prescription drugs like ketamine, like Adderall, even sleeping pills and things like that can cause horrific nightmares and demonic dreams. And so understand that even some of the things that are meant to help us when it comes to pharmaceuticals. I am not anti-pharmaceutical. Understand that. I want to make that clear. I do believe that medications can really help you. And this is one of those episodes where I'm going to be covering that, because if you do have a structural abnormality in the brain, if there is something going on, you are experiencing this schizoaffective disorder somewhere on the polarity of one end being bipolar and having those manic episodes versus depressive episodes, and somewhere in between that and the schizoaffective where you're having delusions and hallucinations and paranoia, then understand that medications can really help with that, and it's really important. But there are also medications out there that can cause that too. And so this is something to be very aware of. And a lot of times it's trial and error if you're going through the route of using pharmaceuticals in order to get out of depression and so forth. So understand that I have in the past, after I had that whole suicidal depressive episode, and I was on drugs for a while when in my teens, I was also taking antidepressants for a short period of time. And that actually helped me. So understand, for me, I was able to find a medication that did help, and I was on it for less than a year, but it did help to get me into a space where I could do the inner work. It helped get me out of the depression just enough so that I could start doing the trauma work, I could start doing the self-reflection, and I could start healing myself. But I have also met other people who get on antidepressants and it doesn't work with their biology. And some of them were even my family members. So even within the same family DNA, certain medications will not work for every single person, even though you have a similar genetic code. And so that's also really important to understand, is that I have also known people to get on antidepressants and it actually made them more suicidal or it gave them more anxiety. And so this is a little bit of a trial and error, a game. I don't want to say game, maybe that's not the right word, but it's something to focus on and work with a medical professional who understands and knows these things. I am just a life coach, hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner. I do not have any kind of degree or certifications when it comes to therapy and being able to prescribe pharmaceuticals. I'm not a psychiatrist or any of that. So I am not the person to be going to finding the answers for this. You need to find a medical professional who knows this realm to work with if this is something that you're struggling with, or this is something that you need to look at and evaluate. But there are people out there to help you. Medical and mental health is a serious thing to take seriously. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our mind, our body, and our soul in so many different ways. And I want to make sure that you're getting the help that you need if this sounds like something that you might be struggling with. I have a friend who in the last year was doing ketamine for a significant period of time to help deal with trauma and suicidal thoughts. And it ended up manifesting into demonic thoughts, demonic repetitive thoughts of being more suicidal. Initially, it seemed like it was working, it was helping. There was a lot of relief in the first several months, but then the continued use of ketamine, even under a doctor's guidance, ended up becoming delusional. It ended up turning into hallucinations and paranoia to the point where there was almost a suicide attempt. There was an actual planning of it. And so understand that it's really, really important, if you are going down that road in any way, shape, or form, if you see a friend or family member going down that road in any way, shape, or form, please get help. Please get on Google, on a search engine, find a helpline, find the people and the resources and the professionals to help guide you through that process. Because the last thing I would ever want for anyone is to go through any of my content or anyone else's content online and think that, oh, this is just a dark spirit, I just need to do a house clearing, but not really realize that there's something deeper going on. There are physical things. We are in a physical body. Yes, we are souls first and foremost. Our soul is much grander and larger and massively bigger than the physical body that we're in, but we are still in physical bodies. And there are physical biological patterns that can happen when we repress trauma, things that can experience through our DNA, through our genetics. You know, schizophrenia is something that is in my family line. And my grandmother, who I never met, she passed away because she was schizophrenic and she committed suicide and she was in and out of hospitals. And so that's something that is in my lineage and I need to be aware of. And that was something that kind of came up for me when I was on drugs too long. And so understand that these are things that it's okay to have. It's okay to be aware of. It's okay to admit that, hey, I've got a problem. I want to make sure that no matter what, you are in a space where you feel like you can be vulnerable. We live in this big, beautiful planet with so many beautiful things happening in the world, but there's also a lot of dark things happening in this world too. And it's what you choose to focus on that allows you to live your life the way you experience it. And I think there's this idea, which I think we're kind of coming around now with social media and so much content online, that there's more acceptance for mental health disorders. There's more acceptance for being vulnerable and saying, hey, I do have an issue. I do have a problem. I am struggling with A, B, and C. And it's really important to be open about that and to be okay with that. Our pride can really get in the way, and our fears of what other people are going to think of us can really get in the way of us doing what's for our highest and best good. And sometimes we need to take a step back and we need to just do the self-care. And that might be getting professional help. That might be getting evaluated, getting a brain scan, admitting to a doctor that you're having suicidal thoughts or that you're hearing voices or that you're so depressed you don't know how to get out of bed, and being able to get that help. A lot of the work that I do with my students is the mindset work, is the energy work, is the emotional work. It's things that we can work with in order to take control back of how we're showing up for our life. But there's an extent, there is a limit to this work. And if you are one of the people that are in the category of it's so hard to even begin doing the inner work, it's so hard to even begin thinking positive or manifesting, it's so hard to even shut down my thoughts because they are racing so fast, and I keep trying meditation day after day after day, and I'm now 3 months in of trying to meditate every day, and I'm really, really struggling because it does take time, right? It does take practice. These are skill sets. Controlling your mind, controlling your focus is a skill. Okay, you don't learn how to swim just instantaneously by doing it once. You don't become an Olympic athlete in your sport by doing your practice one time and then just getting it. All the skills that I teach with my students, with my free content, with my paid programs inside my academy, my online courses, and my group coaching programs, all of that is there because you have the power to take control of your life. But with that said, for some of us, at some points in our life, we need a little more. We need a little boost. We need some support. We need some actual therapy. Like I said, for myself, there were times where I put myself on antidepressants because I need it for a short period of time just to help ease me into being able to do the inner work. And for some people, biologically, it's okay if you need to take those things longer, if it needs to be several years. But I encourage you not to just rely only on the medications. You also need to be doing the therapy and to be doing the inner work, some of the things that I teach and I guide my students through, so that you're taking your power back and you're actually gaining control of your life and manifesting and creating whatever it is that you desire to have. So there is this balance, and it's okay. I really want to hone in that it's okay if you're in that position. I want you to know that you are loved, you are still whole and complete. There is nothing broken with you. There's nothing wrong with you if you have these issues. This is just a part of life. This is one of the many things that happen. There's nothing wrong with you or broken with you if you have a mental health disorder, if you have a disease, if you get cancer, if you have chronic pain issues like me that I've been dealing with for decades. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong or broken, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong or broken either. Like, I've got my struggles, and I've talked about it in a lot of my other episodes too, that I've dealt with injuries, I've dealt with chronic pain, I've dealt with digestive issues and migraines and neurological issues, I've dealt with traumas, I've dealt with drug issues, I've dealt with depression, I've dealt with suicide. Like, just because I've had all of these things in my life doesn't mean that I'm broken. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I have all this horrible karma coming out of me and I need to blame myself and there's something wrong. All it means is I'm human. I am just a human being on planet Earth living life. And sometimes these are just things that are a part of life. And it's nothing to feel bad about or to blame yourself or to play the victim to. It just is what it is. And it's what you do with it. It's how you choose to cope with it. It's how you choose to show up. It's how you choose to address it. It's how you choose to get help, to find the resources to help yourself. And as long as you keep reaching out, the hands will be there to grab. The people, the resources, you will find a way. And you may find a lot of things along the road that don't work for you. And that's okay. I can't tell you how many therapies, how many things I paid for to try and heal some of my chronic pain issues, my neck, herniations and things like that. There's a lot of things that I've tried that have not worked. And that's okay too. It doesn't mean I'm on the wrong path. It just means you've got to try everything until you figure out the answer. It means never giving up on yourself, never giving up on your mental health, never giving up on your physical health, never giving up on your dreams and your manifestations and all the things that you want to create. Doesn't matter how long it takes. It's about the journey. The journey is what it's all about. And as long as you keep moving forward in the journey, you're going to have an amazing experience where you expand, learn, and grow. And that's really the bottom line of why we're here. Since this episode is talking about the differential diagnosis between mental health and whether you're actually experiencing demons and dark spirits, it's important that I also cover some of the basics around dark spirits. So if that is something that's really going on, we want to make sure we're addressing that too. If you want to learn the step-by-step details of how to actually clear dark spirits from your home, from your environment, from your space, please check out my last video. I have a free PDF download. I will include it here in this episode as well, but I have a download that explains step by step. You can print it out, all the things you can do to actually do a house clearing. It's a lot easier than you think. It is actually much more simple and not as crazy as you would imagine it, but getting rid of spirits in your home and environment can really help. Understand also that when you are in a high vibrational state, that means you are thinking positive, you're happy, you're confident, you're in your power, you feel worthy, you feel connected to your body and to your life. When you are in a high vibrational state, spirits cannot interfere with you. Low vibrational energies will move away. And this is really important to understand because when we look at the law of attraction, like attracts like energy. So when you are in a depressed state, when you are chronically worried and fearful and having anxiety and panic attacks and things of those lower vibration, those are the times when you are going to potentially, you may or may not, but you're more likely to attract in lower vibrational spirits into your life, into your home, attached to you and your space. And so this is why it's really important to do the inner work of raising your vibration, of thinking positively, of being in your power and in your confidence and in your self-worth. Because when you are in a higher vibrational state, you're not going to be attracting any of those lower vibration demons or entities into your life and into your environment. And so keeping at a high vibration is very important. Along with my story of all the things I've been through, there was a time when I was going through a really big psychic awakening and I was tapping into some very dark things. I was tapping into dark past lifetimes that people have had and they were confirmed. So I know that they were true because they had already experienced them for themselves in their own meditations and doing past life regressions. And so the images that were coming through were correct. I was picking up correctly. But then because I was taking everything in emotionally, it caused me to feel depressed. I became very depressed. And then I was still open as a psychic channel. I didn't do the work. This was before I knew better, right? I know now and I teach better now. But this was when I learned, oh, wow, I cannot be open psychically. I should not be channeling. I should not be doing any kind of psychic work when I'm sad, depressed, angry, frustrated, or emotional, because then I started drawing in negative things. I started drawing in some darker entities into my life at that time because I didn't know my boundaries and I was still learning my boundaries. This is something that's really, really important because I do teach channeling spirit guides and angels, and I want to make sure that everyone knows whenever you are sad, depressed, anything in a lower vibrational energy, never, never, ever, ever, ever try to do psychic work or channeling. You do not want to do that. You only do psychic and channeling work when you are in a very high state, in a beautiful, high vibrational state. That is how I have trained myself to work up and up and up to higher and higher levels of high vibrational guides. That's why I don't do psychic readings anymore, because they are actually of a lower vibrational level and they don't resonate with who I am now because I've raised my vibration so much. And I only make sure that I do it when I'm in a good space. So if I ever go through an episode, we're human. So if things happen in my life, if shit hits the fan and I'm having a bad week, I don't channel at all. I make sure that I don't do any channeling and I don't do any psychic work because it's really, really important to self-protect and to know your limitations and to have a healthy energetic system. So in those times, I'm doing a lot of inner work and I'm just taking care of myself. And I only channel when I'm in a very high vibrational state. And I really encourage you to do that as well, if that's the route you are going. I teach all about how to channel spirit guides and angels, how to keep your vibration really, really high, how to protect yourself, and how to do things correctly at a pace that works for you through my online academy, Step Into Your Power Academy. I have level 1, which is manifestation and intuition mastery, and then I have a level 2, which is all about channeling your spirit guides, angels, and developing your psychic skills. And so this gives people an opportunity to learn and grow with all that. There's also group coaching in there, so you get a lot of one-on-one interaction. So if that's something that you're interested in at any point in your life, be sure to get on my email list so that you find out when the doors open and you can enroll. aside from doing a house clearing, saging your home, and doing a lot of energy protection and energy clearing, I do have a lot of guided meditations on energy clearing so that you're clearing your own energetic field, your aura, and your chakras. You can find those on my website and my shop. And with that, that's a great way to kind of keep your own energy clear. In addition to that, you can call on Jesus Christ to help protect you. You can call on Archangel Michael, who is the angel warrior who is going to protect you. There's the Lord's Prayer. There's St. Michael's Prayer from the Bible. Those are all really great things that you can do to call in and support and protect yourself, doing that white light energy around you and making sure that you're doing everything in your power to feel confident and solid in who you are in your own vibrational state. Know that when it comes to dreams, once again, there's a lot of ways that dreams show up for us. Sometimes dreams can be influenced if you're taking medications to help you fall asleep, and that can actually cause like demonic dreams and dark dreams and nightmares and things like that. Dreams most commonly are a representation of your subconscious mind and things that you're processing. So if you have a lot of repressed traumas, if you haven't done a lot of trauma work, if there are things that you're suppressing in your life, that might come up in your dreams. And also sometimes dreams are prophetic. So sometimes there are things that can get through. And if they are, again, if it is a real demonic or dark spirit energy, then it's important to address that. If it's coming through in your dreams, that means it's somewhere in your life and it's in somewhere in your energy field, whether it's in your home. You may need to seek out professional help to look at, whether this is a mental health condition, seeking out a doctor, seeing if there are things going on there, if you fall within the guidelines of being on that schizoaffective disorder with hallucinations and so forth. And also, if there is a real spiritual experience happening here, then you may need to get some more professional help. If you do the house clearing that I taught in the last episode and it's still just not enough, you may need to get an exorcist. You may need to get a priest in there. You may need to get some Reiki healers, some energy workers, some psychics to do some deeper work in your home and in your space and help guide you through that process. But either way, I just wanted to make sure that we're talking about this subject because it's very easy to talk about the beautiful side, the fun side, all the great stuff that's happening, but sometimes we forget to talk about the dark stuff. Sometimes we forget that this is a potential issue and that these things do come up. And we want to be smart about it. We want to make sure that we're covering all of our bases. You're getting professional help, whether it's for your mental health with doctors, whether you're getting in another type of professional to work on the spiritual side, doing everything you can in your power to take ownership of what's happening without blaming yourself, feeling bad about it, but just taking it one step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time as you navigate through this world of darkness. Because there is darkness in this world, let's be honest. That's just part of being on planet Earth. You came here because you wanted a challenge. You wanted to grow as a soul, as a spirit. And you know what? Planet Earth is a good place to do that because there's a lot of stuff that happens here. And, planet Earth, part of it is just there is darkness, and that's okay. We are here. You're strong. You wouldn't be here if you weren't a strong soul because the strong souls don't incarnate onto planet Earth. If you didn't have it in you to make it through this lifetime, you wouldn't be here. So trust in a bigger future for yourself. Trust that there is light at the end of the tunnel, even though you cannot see it sometimes. And that's okay. I've been there. I remember what it was like. I remember what it was like to be depressed and suicidal and to feel like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. But I'm here to tell you there is. Decades later, moving out of it, going through every process under the sun to get to where I am today, there is light at the end of the tunnel and it is there for you, but you just have to believe in it. Call out to God, call out to Creator, your angels, your guides, Buddha, whoever you pray to. Ask them to support you. Ask them to give you guidance, to feel their energy, to raise your vibration, to help support and guide you every step of the way, and then keep your eyes open for those synchronicities. And I know that all will work out in the end for you, one way or another. So I hope this was helpful. If this was really helpful for you, please share this. Please share this with your friends, your family who may need this, who can learn something and grow from this, because this is really important content that needs to get out into the world. We need to normalize the fact that there is darkness. We need to normalize the fact that we do struggle mentally and emotionally sometimes, and to be able to create a safe space with friends, family, and a network of people that you can get support from and to navigate this world. And I hope this is helpful. I love you so much. Be sure to download the free PDF on how to do a house clearing if you feel called to do that. And I will see you in the next episode. If you have any questions on this content, please put all of your comments below this video. I am more than happy to connect with you and do my best to answer questions. If you enjoy this content, you want to hear more about the metaphysical world, about spirit guides, angels, and everything manifestation, be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so that you get notified every time I have a new episode. I also have a ton of playlists set up for you on my YouTube page. So make sure that you subscribe there. You can binge watch any subject that you like when it comes to metaphysical and manifestation energy work.